Here's Cameron and I's 2018 NFL playoff predictions. I'm going to go first all the way around, and then he's going to go second after me. Starting off with the Buffalo-Jacksonville game, I think this is going to be a tight game, but I think Jacksonville's going to be able to pull this one out due to Leonard Fournette absolutely carving up the Bills' defense, as they are the 30th run defense in the league. So I think Jacksonville's going to be able to win this, and also LaShawn McCoy with a sprained ankle, I think he's going to be limited in his playing time and abilities. Heading over to the Tennessee-Kansas City game, I think Kansas City is going to be able to pull this one out because Tennessee has been really up and down. I think they're really lucky to be even in the playoffs, losing their last two and then winning this last one against Jacksonville. I don't think Jacksonville was giving their full effort just because they knew they were finally going to make it into the playoffs. Heading over to the Atlanta-Los Angeles game, I think that Atlanta is going to be able to win this one. It's going to be a close game, but I think that Los Angeles just doesn't have everything together just yet. I think next year they're going to be able to really do well, but Atlanta's just having so much experience, and Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, I think they're going to be able to get past Los Angeles' defense. Heading down to Carolina, New Orleans, this is going to be another close one. Carolina's defense is pretty good, but New Orleans' offense, I think, is just too elite for their defense, and they should be able to win this. Heading back over to the AFC, then you're going to have Jacksonville versus Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh should just be able to win this one. I think that their offense is just too good for Jacksonville's defense, and Leonard Fournette is really the only weapon Jacksonville has. Just Blake Bortles does not really scare many people just because he's not the greatest, and Pittsburgh's defense should be able to take care of him. So if they can just wrap up Leonard Fournette, then that should be a pretty easy game. Heading over to the Kansas City-New England game, I think that New England will likely win this just as bad as everybody expects because most people have New England making the Super Bowl, and considering it'll be in New England, who knows what'll happen with the refs, but I think that New England will be able to win that one pretty easily. Now heading over to the NFC, Atlanta, Philadelphia, I think that the Eagles are going to really struggle with Nick Foles. He's just been not the greatest this past week, getting shut out by the Cowboys. So this is going to be another close game, but I don't know. I think Atlanta has a somewhat easy route to the NFC Championship this year just because Philadelphia has been struggling lately, and ever since Carson Wentz went down, they've just not looked as good. Heading down to the New Orleans-Minnesota game, I think that Minnesota should be able to pull this one out. It's going to be a close game, though, because New Orleans is really experienced, but it's going to be in Minnesota. I think there is a way that New Orleans can shut down Case Keenum because before this year, he was just an average quarterback, and I still think that he's somewhat of an average quarterback. So if their defense can show up, then I think it's going to be a really close game, but that should be a good game. But like I said, Minnesota should be able to win that one. Heading back over to the NFC, or to the AFC, excuse me, we have New England playing Pittsburgh. This should be another interesting game, to say the least. This time it's going to be in New England. I think that's going to be a disadvantage to Pittsburgh just because it seems like teams typically do bad in New England, and if Pittsburgh wasn't able to take care of business back in Pittsburgh, that this is going to be a victory for New England. I think that Gronk is going to do good things against the Pittsburgh defense, and yeah, I just think New England's going to pull this one out, especially since it's in New England. That game back in Week 16 was really a backbreaker for Pittsburgh, especially that controversial call. That really kind of messed things up because if Pittsburgh would have won that game, then this AFC Championship game would be played in Pittsburgh instead of New England, and it would likely be a whole different story. Heading back over to the NFC, we have Atlanta versus Minnesota for the NFC Championship. I think that I think that Minnesota should be able to win this one. Like I said, Atlanta is going to be fortunate to even make it to the NFC Championship. I think they have an easy road to get there. But I think Minnesota is kind of going to be a reality check for them, to say the least. So I think that the Super Bowl will be Minnesota versus New England, and I think it's just going to be exciting because the Super Bowl will be held in Minneapolis. So it'll be interesting to have a kind of a home game for Minnesota. On the Cameron's predictions.
Okay, Buffalo and Jacksonville. Well, I think Jacksonville's offense is just gonna tear up Buffalo's defense, especially with Buffalo having the 30th run defense. So I do agree with Josh with that, but Jacksonville will crush them. It won't be a close game though, so they'll win. Tennessee and Kansas City. Well, Tennessee going 1-2 down the stretch, barely making the playoffs. They're lucky that they're in. But Kansas City will pull this off, especially when they're at home. They have Alex Smith. They have the weapons of Kareem Hunt and Tyreek Hill, and then their defense. So that should be an easy game for Kansas City. Going on to the NFC, Atlanta and Los Angeles. I don't think Los Angeles is going to win this game because it's a rookie quarterback, first year head coach. I don't think they have the playoff experience, but Atlanta does, especially going to the Super Bowl last year. I think they'll get an easy win in the wild card game. Okay, to Carolina and New Orleans game. It should be a close game. It should be an offensive game. But I think New Orleans defense is going to pile up on Cam Newton. And if Cam Newton and their offense has a chance, he needs to start scrambling out of the pocket more. And that'll give them the chance to win. But New Orleans' offense is way better, so they'll win. Back to the AFC, Pittsburgh and Jacksonville. Honestly, I think this is going to be a good game, but I think Pittsburgh at home, with all the pressure on Jacksonville, I think Pittsburgh will barely pull this one off. Now, New England and Kansas City. It's the rematch from last year, but New England is usually home field advantage for them, so it's usually going to be an easy win for New England. It's going to be a close one. It should go down to the last second. I think New England's going to definitely win this one. Atlanta and Philadelphia. Well, losing Carson Wentz for Philadelphia and have Nick Foles. Do I trust Nick Foles? Yes, I do, but does he have enough energy to actually win the playoff game? And I think as Atlanta having some more playoff experience and stuff, I think Atlanta will pass by this one. Now, New Orleans and Minnesota. This should be a good one, especially both defenses being really good. Will have pressure on both of the quarterbacks. I think this will be a defensive game. It's going to be pretty close throughout, but Minnesota at home and looking throughout home field advantage the whole way, I think they're going to win this one. Now, the AFC Conference Championship, Pittsburgh at New England. Well, this one should be a good one, just like last time, except there was a controversial call, and I really thought Jesse James got that catch. So I think Pittsburgh should be first seed right now. They should be playing at home. They should win this game, but since they're at home and Tom Brady and their offense, I don't think the defense can hold it. I think Patriots are going to punch a ticket into the Super Bowl. Now we got Atlanta and Minnesota. Minnesota obviously is going to get all over the defense. It's going to be a tough time because the Atlanta's secondary is pretty good, but I think Minnesota is going to win. Now the big game is coming, New England and Minnesota. This is home field advantage for Minnesota, and they could possibly make history for the Super Bowl curse. If they win, this could be really big, and I bet you it's going to be a sellout, I tell you. And I think Minnesota's going to definitely win this game.
I think as far as the Super Bowl that Tom Brady is just going to Amendola and Gronkowski, and the Vikings defense is really going to have to show up if they're going to shut down Gronk, because it seems like only a few teams, if maybe even no teams, are able to shut Gronk down. So it's just going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be a close game. But in my opinion, unfortunately, it's going to be another New England victory. Obviously, our opinions are definitely contradictory, but I think that New England is it's going to pull it out in the end. I think it's without a doubt going to be a close game, but I think it's definitely going to come down to the last few minutes. But I could easily see a 2-minute drive, fourth quarter, close game. Tom Brady goes down the field and wins the Super Bowl again. So that's my opinion.
Well, I could actually see Minnesota leading by a lot, just like Atlanta did last year, and the Patriots will come back because Minnesota would think, oh, we're winning by a lot, we might win. But Josh is right. Possibly the Patriots could win this game, but if Minnesota could be better than the Patriots, they're going to win. But if the Patriots win, honestly, they could kind of make history too with 7 Super Bowl wins. So, yeah. I mean, 6.
All right, so these were our 2018 NFL playoff predictions. So we'll have to see how it turns out. Obviously, these could go wrong if there's an upset. Whether in the AFC or the NFC, I think that there's a higher chance that there's going to be an upset in the NFC, if I had to say. Just because New England has been so dominant and they have home field advantage, I don't see major upsets in the AFC, although I think that would be pretty fun if there was. But I think that the NFC, there's definitely a bigger chance of these predictions going wrong, just because there's so many teams that could be really good or really bad, such as the Eagles, and then you have the Rams. It's going to be interesting. But these have been our 2018 NFL playoff predictions.
Yep, you're right. There could be a lot of upsets. Some teams could have a bad day and possibly be better than the other team. So thanks for watching our 2018 NFL predictions. We'll see you next time.